Hi guys, here we are in a new episode of What to Play over the Weekend Ranked, the series where I analyze the Gods Unchained meta, the best deck and so on, and this is actually the first episode after a balance patch of the new set Dread Awakening. And guys, actually a lot of things changed thanks to this patch in my opinion, so we will literally jump right into it. So before, let's read the patch. So it was a nerf patch, so most of the things were nerfed, and as you can see just from there, Nature was the god most hit by the nerf. And I mean, that's kind of obvious because, as I said, Nature was the best god, the best deck, and everything. So let's go to check the changes. So regression, instead of reducing everything of 1 mana and 2 mana if you do the touch, now it reduces only one creature of 1 mana, and if you dread touch instead everything, but still of 1 mana, so it's actually a lot weaker. I think it's still a really solid card for 2 mana, it's really good still, but in my opinion, yeah, this is actually, already just this is a big nerf of Nature. Same for a natural selection, now it doesn't change anymore the strength and the health, but just the strength. So it's still, even this card, like it is still playable, it's still a good card, but now you can't like change your Badger from 1/2 into a 10/10 alien elite and their alien into a 1/2, because now you can't do that value trade, and that's actually a big loss. And the big loss is even Dread Deer, that now instead of being a 2/5 is a 2/4, and instead of having regen it doesn't have regen, so it's a 2/4 that if you do the Dread Touch it gains +2, so essentially a 4/4 that attack all your opponent board. Is strong, but I feel like that 1 health less is really important, because a lot of time you were attacking 1 creature more thanks for that 1 health more, and probably this will not see play in my opinion. Probably a natural selection and regression you still can. I don't know if that there still makes the cut. Another card that was nerfed is Broad Parasite, because if we remember guys from the other video of What to Play over the Weekend Ranked, I said that actually the best deck other control Nature was Rock Drake, and it was thanks to this card. Is still really good. I mean, it's a bit of nerf, not a huge nerf, because now it can't attack, so you can't sack this creature, but you still can sack with a lot of Dread Touch, Sacrifice and so on. I mean, it's still for sure a little nerf, but I feel of those nerf is the more little one, we can say. Then Cosmic Witness, so the magic guy, instead of a 1/3 that give you a mystery, is a 1/2. I agree on that, because guys, this card was actually really good. A 1/3 that can get spell boost and give you a card, like it was really great for 1 mana, sorry. Path of Nature. Path of Nature is the same essentially, but increase the mana from 1 to 2. So that's actually a big difference, because that was really important for go to find your bunny, and now instead it's a lot harder, and now you don't even delve anymore, but you draw. So if you want to rely on this, forget your bunny, you have just to play bunny, when instead the delving part was so good even for food chain. That's actually a big difference, in my opinion, more for food chain deck than for Control Nature, because in Control Nature you still play probably only bunny as a wild, but for food chain this is a big nerf in my opinion. Maybe this makes now the best budget deck another time the budget Deception and not the budget Nature I made in the last video. Fervor instead. Change text from give a creature with 2 strength to 1/1. Give, essentially this is the god power of light from IRINA, and it got buffed. It giving even +1 health. I don't think it's enough, but is, to be honest, already a really good buff for Agrolite. Like now IRINA in Agrolite I think it has to go in, even because Agrolite doesn't have a lot of neutral, so it's worth to remove those neutral and get this god power. Part of that, it went from pull a card from your void into your hand, your god takes damage, to essentially it's the same, but it has a soulless. This is really important for like Rock Drake and so on. I mean, deck where you can make combo with the Necronomics and so on. That was, it's not even a huge nerf, but is needed in my opinion. Pet of War, instead it got a buff, delve a war creature with Blitz, now you even buff it. I don't know if it's enough, to be honest, for make this card playable, but probably is good in an aggro war. Like you just get a card for 1 mana and you buff it, and like it's pretty solid, and buff the creature with Blitz is even better. Spy Chronicle got nerfed. I agree even on that, because this card was actually really helpful, really OP. If you start a T1 with this, you peep into this, that is a 2 mana drop, 2/3 with worded, and every time it attack it delve mystery. So essentially this was one of the best T1 play ever in Gods Unchained if you don't deal with that as up. And then the last buff was Sleepwalker, that is a 3-5 that essentially sleep all your opponent board, like 5 mana or less I think. And now it got buffed from a 3-5 to a 5-5. I think this card is actually really, really good. I think I would play this in the majority of Deception, no cap in Guild Deception, even in Control probably. And so, this was the patch. What do I think about the patch? I love it. It's probably one of the best patch I ever saw in Gods Unchained. I have literally not a card where I don't agree on. I think now Nature will feel a lot though this patch, and actually we see that in the meta, guys. See Nature. I mean, don't see those numbers because those numbers, guys, I had to put just on the last day because I want to make this video for the weekend ranked for you. But we have only 1 day of stats because they made the patch yesterday. So yeah, just 1 day of number are not enough. Obviously it changed more. I don't think Nature is so bad. I think it's still pretty decent. I don't think it's the best god in the meta right now. I think the best god in the meta is Death, because as I said, it was the best god before with Nature. Now Nature got a lot more nerfed than Death, so now it's Death. And even Deception, because Deception was already pretty good with IRINA Deception, as I said. And now it got even buffer with like a Sleepwalker. So, I mean, it got a bunch of buff, and in the meantime, Nature got nerfed. So, I think, yeah, Deception is the best with Death. Magic as ATLANTEAN, as we will see, that is still really, really strong, while Nature instead is a lot weaker. I wouldn't play Nature in this weekend ranked, if I have to be honest. Even because, yeah, it's a new meta, new card, a lot of nerf. I wouldn't play this in this weekend ranked, and I will not even show a Nature deck. I showed a lot of Nature deck in the last week. You can still play them because are still pretty solid in my opinion, even after this patch. But in today's episode, we will show the god that essentially are doing the best in my opinion, that are the other 4. Light is not even in the number. I don't know why, to be honest. Probably no one is playing Light. I have even to try Ago Light with IRINA. I think it's pretty solid, but not enough number, guys. Only 1 day, so. But on the number we got, as we can see, Nature is doing pretty bad, but in my opinion will take time. But what is doing good? We are interested in that. ATLANTEAN is just so good. ATLANTEAN is in every what to play over the weekend ranked video, guys. I know, I'm sorry, but it's just an amazing deck, and it's not even hard, so yeah, perfect. The only thing, it costs a bit, but not even too much, like 100, 200 bucks. That, I mean, it's kind of a lot, but it's not like crazy high. Then we can see that it's followed by Death, so Bitter Ending and Bomb Dragon, both really good. IRINA Deception is there, that is as well really good. And if you're going on a budget, now you can restart to play War. That is the biggest difference. Like the other week, War was unplayable due to all the Nature that literally wrecked so hard War. Now with the Nature nerf, now War is coming out again, so with budget Aggro or Relic War, I don't know which one I would prefer, probably Relic War, I like it a bit more. But both are playable for real now. And now let's go jump instead in the best deck of the meta. I think there are 2 best decks. One is Rock Drake and one is ATLANTEAN. Let's start from Death. This is from Kargas. He is probably the best Rock Drake player, no cap. And you can see that from the 72% win rate in more than 100 games. That's literally a crazy win rate. The overall is still super high though, almost 60% in more than 1,000 games. So this means this deck is, I don't want to say broken, but it's pretty near, because it's really amazing, 60% on 1,000 games, and this deck is killed. So like those people in the overall will misplay. They still make 60%, it means the deck is really, really good. If you don't know how to play the deck, you essentially want to spawn big creatures from the Afterlife of Broad Parasite, so 4/4, or Rock Drake even better, so 6/5. And you want to take damage, so it's all with Afterlife, Canopy Coder, and for more Afterlife, Siren for sleep if you are against aggro, or for remove your card, obliterate for don't overthrow versus control. And then you have the Path of Death, that is a great addition from the latest set. And the main point of the card of this deck is essentially Bitter Ending, that you get a 6 or 7 mana legendary, and it costs 0. And then you have essentially to OTK your opponent, if not you die. That card will almost always be Anothep for OTK your opponent with Over the Line. So you essentially push like 20-30 damage in one turn with Bitter Ending, Friendly Mimic, and so on. Guys, I know I can't explain these decks, and you have even series for the combo. I mean, this deck is super hard to explain in a what to play over the weekend ranked. If you want a video just on Rock Drake, please comment down below, because I can make it. It will take a bit of time, but I can make this video. If a lot of people are interested, I can do that. This is, by the way, how you play it, essentially. Another deck that is easier, always from that, and is more cheap, is Bomb Dragon. Still really good deck, guys. 60% win rate on 100 games, as you can see, even on the overall, so it's amazing even this one. And is easier, so that's why I think this deck is better, but has a lower overall win rate, because this deck is just easier. This deck, you just make your dragon die, like Bomb Dragon, this one, that make 3 damage every time it dies to the weakest enemy creature and to your opponent god. So essentially you will deal with the board with this, and in the meantime, even making damage to your opponent face. That is the main point of this deck. And you can do that even damage to the face with Ritual, Ragnarok, Brimstone, so there's a lot of bars in this deck. You have a bit of sustain with Perseverance, Necroceptor, and so on. The only card and you have even Void Watch, for example, for trigger another time the Afterlife from Blackfire. The only card I would probably remove is Chiroptic, for put the 3/3 dragon that now I don't remember, that essentially when you play it you can proc a Afterlife of a dragon in your void. That's just better in my opinion in this deck. And then you have even Deep Water and Glean for tech for draw your Blackfire. That is essentially the main point of this deck. All the deck essentially is based on this card that make damage and deal with the board. But still, it's a really good deck. Even better now that Nature is not in the meta, or at least if it is, it's kind of bad right now, at least it seems. So there are not a lot of people with a lot of healing, with Compost Charm, Winter's Bounty and so on, and this deck is the best versus those type of control that actually suffer from all those burn. And now instead let's go in the other best deck of the meta, and that deck is ATLANTEAN. Guys, I probably never saw a higher win rate than this. 90% on creator and 80% on the overall. I mean, are not a lot of games, but still, like 50 games, 80% is crazy on the overall. What is different from every other ATLANTEAN? So it's pretty much similar. It's always the same deck, is always working because they are just great. You just go a lot wide and try to stick Francesca. That's how you play with ATLANTEAN. You have a lot of really good effect. A 3/2 that draw a card for 2 mana, a 2/3 that make 2 damage on Roar for 2 mana. Like, those are great effect, literally. But the most important thing is Francesca for Obliterate, essentially, for ATLANTEAN, and spam a 15/15 with God Blitz. That essentially is most of the time an OTK. And then we have even the new card. The only difference is Dread Replicator. That is a 6 mana 5/5 body that essentially spawn a copy of the top ATLANTEAN of your deck. As we can see, there is not Echophon, so there is not the combo with Echophon, but I think it's actually the best way for use this card, because it's still a 5/5 that spawn another ATLANTEAN. And actually, you can even Dread Touch that. In that way, you can choose any ATLANTEAN you want. So if you want a Mana Starved Construct, a Boost Walker, a Francesca, Enduring Archive, you can literally put that on top of your deck. So I think it's really a power play, a 6 mana play, a 5/5, and like a 4/3 with Protected. That's how you play it, and I mean, it seems that it is working. It's literally almost 100% win rate, so I don't know what you want more. $200, not too pricey, but still pretty pricey, not a budget deck. Let's go now instead in a kinda budget deck. So as we can see is IRINA Deception. IRINA Deception, I think, to be honest, this is, you probably even put Sleepwalker in this deck now that got buffed, because it's really a good card. So you probably remove like, I don't know, or Rapture or Toss to Pieces and Sartonian. And you put, in my opinion, the Sleepwalker, because guys, now it's a 5/5, that is actually really a lot. And sleep your opponent board. But still, as you can see, 75% win rate from TBH. He's a really good player, so makes sense. But even in the overall, really solid win rate. And this was still from even the when Nature was pretty broken still. So how do you play this deck? Essentially, you have IRINA. IRINA, the God Power, you delve with 2 mana a card from your opponent deck. So really crazy effect, really strong. And after you delve all those cards, you will play Ronellian Doll that will reduce all your card that you delved of 2, because they didn't start in your deck, so reduce of 2 mana. So like, if you delve a Teriel, or you can play Teriel at 5 mana, because Teriel go from, like, there is not a mana lock. You can literally just reduce them, or actually at 3 mana if you have double Ronellian Doll. So imagine, I don't know, best case generation. you delve a Teriel in T2 after you play the arena. You then play double Ranelian Doll the turn after, and now you can play Teriel on T3. Like, it's actually, that can actually happen. That's how this deck works. You have even Tooth Fade that is really good for take your opponent card from your deck. And overall, so how do you actually play this deck? This deck is mostly an aggro that though have a lot of value. Like, you will continue to steal your opponent, so you will just play fast at the start, but then you, with IRINA God Power, with Path of Deception, you will start to steal a lot of cards, so you don't go out of gas, and that's how you play this deck. It's actually really, really strong in my opinion, and it's actually really, really funny, because every game is a lot different. You have to adapt versus who you are against, because you steal their card, and so on. I think it's really funny, really good, and it doesn't cost too much. I like this deck. And now, instead, let's go on the last deck of this What to Play over the Weekend Ranked. That is a Relic War. As I said, War is playable in my opinion this Weekend Ranked. Not the best, for sure, but if you are on a budget, you can play Aggro War or even Relic War. 52% win rate in more than 200 games with less than $20, so really, really solid budget deck. This is a Relic War, so essentially what you want to do is just to play your Relic. Most of the time Dragonfang is better because it has even Leech, so if you can buff this, is a lot better than Blade of Styx. But yeah, you just play your Relic, put a Whetstone, so you buff the attack, and OTK with Unrestrained Power, so essentially you double the power of your Relic, and you start to push 10-20 damage with a Relic. And that's really important that this is Leech, because you can literally like even kill like a 5/5 creature and you even Leech 5, so it's really important. And other than that, essentially, like those are the main point of the card, with I need a weapon for the Relic, and Mobilized for reduce the mana of your combo, for the Empower cards. Other than that, all the other cards essentially are or draw card, or card for deal with the board, like Karen Sweep, since you have a really strong Relic, this is literally a board wipe. Retaliation, and so on. So yeah, just a lot of draw, a lot of clear, and try to set up your combo and kill your opponent with your Relic. It's not super easy to play, to be honest, because it's a kind of different way to play, but once that you get the flow of the deck, how to play it, I would say it's pretty easy. Guys, that was all I had to say for this patch, for this video. I hope you enjoy. Remember always to subscribe to my channel there, even follow me on Twitter, and even enter my Discord. Everything is down below in the comments. Tell me if you actually liked this patch. I think it was actually a really, really good patch. Nature for sure needed some nerf. We will see if it was too much or not. And I guess, see you to the next video.